Welcome back to the Aces Let's Do It podcast. I'm your host, Dominic Archer, and over the last week or so, we've been talking about baseball and what's going on and what to look forward to in spring training. In the next couple of days, we're going to be seeing some teams get on the field for the first time this year, which is always exciting. We've already got two divisions done. We've both done the AL Central and the AL East. So we're going to finish up the AL here with the AL West, a division where things could be this might be one of the more exciting divisions in baseball, at least at the top. Obviously, with the Astros winning the World Series last year, they're going to be the favorites to win the division. In fact, Zips projects them to be that. They project them at 90 wins, and with Yordan Alvarez being one of the more underappreciated players in baseball, I think, obviously we talk about Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto and these great hitters, but a guy who doesn't get talked about enough is Yordan Alvarez. The guy had 6.6 WAR last year and barely played the field. I mean, you talk about a designated hitter. That's what this guy is. He played a little bit more outfield this year than he has in past. He played 56 games out in left field, but 77 as a designated hitter. Um, I mean, the guy, he can hit the baseball. He gets his first All Star nod this year in 135 games this year, 306 average, 406 on base, and a 613 OPS. Or sorry, slugging with an OPS north of 1,000. Hit 37 home runs. This is one of the best players in baseball, and unfortunately for Jordan, he doesn't get the accolades he should, but he just won a World Series this year, and he's only 25 years old, and he's got nothing but bright lights ahead of him. He'll be a fun player to watch moving forward. And they brought up Jeremy Pena last year, and Jose Altuve, and Alex Bregman. I mean, this is one of the best teams in the American League, no doubt. And we're going to see them maybe struggle a little bit in the division. And it's not because they're particularly bad or anything, but the Mariners are right on their heels, and we'll talk about them in a minute. But a guy who could be taking a huge step this year is Framber Valdez. We saw what he can do in the playoffs this past year. 4.4 WAR last year, highest among returning pitchers for the Astros this season. And they are a team that is obviously looking to be a dynasty. Right now, they have the 28th ranked minor league system, so a lot of their guys that they're really hoping are already on the big league level. But one guy to keep an eye out for is Hunter Brown, right-handed pitcher, the number 43 prospect in all of baseball. If they need some help in pitching, he's the guy to do it. He's already come up, 24 years old, pitched in 7 ball games with 20 innings under his belt, and had an ERA under 1, 22 punch-outs in 20 innings. This is a guy to really keep an eye out for. He could potentially be in their starting rotation this year and really help them solidify the loss of Justin Verlander. Not saying that this guy is going to be what Verlander was last year, but he's going to help come in and really take over a spot and be somebody who's going to eat a lot of innings for them probably and pitch really well. And that's what they're going to need. They just need guys to play really well so they can continue to get to the playoffs and possibly, win the division. And I say possibly because the team right behind them, the Seattle Mariners. Now, Zips has them at 85 wins. I don't know about that one. They made the postseason for the first time in 20 years last year. They won 90 ball games. Julio Rodriguez is, in the last video we talked about the Orioles and how Adley and Gunnar Henderson are two of the game's best and brightest. We might be seeing a face of the league in Julio Rodriguez. He's got it all, man. He's 6'3", 230. He's got speed, power, great arm, can steal bases. 132 games last year, slash 284, 345, 509. Won the Rookie of the Year, was a Silver Slugger, an All-Star, had 28 home runs, stole 25 bags. This is a guy who obviously has 30-30 potential, could even have 40-40 potential. If Scott Service wants to steal bases, he's definitely the guy to do it. There's not much to say. This guy talks for himself, and he's only played 1 year in the major leagues. And the Seattle Mariners said, we've seen enough, signed a 7-year extension, and he's just an awesome player. And for them to have that guy as their franchise piece in a very important time in their franchise is awesome. And we're going to see him do some awesome things. Cal Raleigh, the catcher, hit 26 bombs last year. He's somebody that they're really counting on to continue to do that. They brought in Eugenio Suarez, who had a bounce back year for them after having pretty much a pretty horrible year in Cincinnati. And then when you talk about pitching, Logan Gilbert and George Kirby, a great 1-2 punch. This team has it all, and 85 wins to me is just not enough. It's not enough, and they also have Luis Castillo and Robbie Ray. I mean, this is a great team. 85 wins to me is just way too low. I think this is a 90-plus win ball club. If the Astros can win 92, the Mariners can definitely win 90. I just love the way that Scott Service has put this team out there day in and day out. They just compete. They never give up. I mean, this is a team that if you love baseball, just watch these guys. They'll get you fired up, man. And, I'm a Cub fan. I'm a diehard Cub fan. But when the Cubs were eliminated from the playoffs and the playoffs came around, I was rooting for the Seattle Mariners, man. I listened to their radio broadcasts, everything. I watched this team and I'm thinking, man, they are right there. They just need a couple of pieces to really step up, and maybe a couple of guys that signed through the free agency and bring in, and maybe somebody takes another big step. And this is going to be a team to compete for a championship sooner rather than later. This year, I don't think, obviously, they might make some noise in the playoffs and potentially could make it to the ALCS. But this is going to be a dangerous team in the regular season, and 85 wins to me is just not enough. I think this is a 90-win ball club through and through, and they could potentially win the AL West. I really like this team, and I think they are heading in a very, very special place. Now, when we talk about the rest of the division, it's kind of hard because they're not great. The Rangers are in a rebuild stage. They've spent a ton of money. I mean, a lot. They spent a lot on Corey Seager. They spent a lot on John Gray. This year, they've got a couple of really good pieces in the minor leagues, and Josh Jung, and then they have obviously their two stud pitchers, Kumar Rocker and Mark Leiter, his son Al Leiter rather. This is going to be a year of just let's figure some things out. Let's get some guys on the squad. Let's develop our minor league guys, and let's maybe be sellers at the deadline and then figure things out from there. I don't know if Texas will be really vying for a playoff spot. I just don't know if they have enough top to bottom talent. It's there in the minor leagues. Jack Leiter, sorry, I said Al Leiter, Jack Leiter, Josh Jung, Kumar Rocker, some really solid players. And, Josh Jung came up to the big leagues this year at 25 years old, 6'2". Wasn't, stellar, but he had less than 100 at-bats, so it's really hard to judge him. But he's a guy who's got all the talent in the world, and obviously Jack Leiter, former second overall draft choice. He's got a ton of talent as well. So they're really looking to develop their minor league guys and maybe come back in 2024 and compete for a wild card spot. But like I said, Corey Seager's a great player. Marcus Simeon's a good player. Adolis Garcia's a good player. I mean, they have some good players, but just no top-level guys. You don't look at this team and go, this is a team that'll compete moving forward. But, I think they will be they won't be an easy out. They're not going to lose 100 ball games. There's talent on the squad. But I don't know if they're going to win 85 wins. I know that they're not. They'll probably be a 78-win team. But there's some opportunity here to potentially ship off some of your older players and get some nice young pieces back. They did bring in Jacob deGrom. So, having him at the top of the rotation is great. Obviously, we know what he can do, but he's already been shut down for a couple of days. And he hasn't even pitched in spring training yet, so that's never a good look, that being their big free agent acquisition. But, they might be able to move some pieces at the deadline and get some exciting young players. Zips has them at 79 wins. I think they're in a better spot than the Red Sox. So I do think that 78, 79, 81 wins is good for them. But like I said, it's going to be the Astros and Mariners show. Um, but another team to look out for, and if they can put it all together, is the Los Angeles Angels. Now, I think that the Rangers are going to hit or be higher in the standings than the Angels. And I know they have Shohei, and I know they have Mike Trout. And I mean, those two players are just, they could be all time greats. Mike Trout has even been put into that upper echelon of all time greats. And Shohei, with the way he's pitching and hitting, is definitely on his way there. But they just don't seem to figure. I can't figure them out. Any other franchise probably wouldn't have been to the playoffs 8 or 9 times, and maybe won a World Series with Mike Trout, and definitely most would have made the playoffs with Mike Trout and Shohei. But for whatever reason, they can't figure it out. And I love those players. They're great for the game. But Zips has them at 85 wins, and they only won 73 last year. And I don't really see why this team would be better than last year's squad. There is a couple of young pieces who could have had great off seasons and transform themselves into really solid big league hitters. But I mean, Tyler Anderson had a great year, but it's just this pitching. They can't develop pitching. I don't know what it is. Reed Detmers was cool last year. He had some up and down moments. But when you look at the roster top to bottom, I mean, David Fletcher, he's a good player. When Anthony Rendon's not hurt, he can be a good player. They brought in Gio Urshela. Jared Wallace is a good player. Joe Adell has all of the potential in the world. It's just, can he put it together? They brought in Hunter Renfroe. So I mean, there's some good pieces, but when I look at the pitching staff, I don't look at anybody and go, that's a bona fide ace. He's a guy that they're really going to look to and really be the leader that this team needs on the staff. I don't see it. I could be wrong. And, I've been wrong before. I've been wrong a lot. It's just, I just don't see it. They could be great. They also could be awful. And I'm going to go ahead and say they're not going to be good. I just don't see it. When you look at their roster from last year, obviously Mike Trout and Shohei are going to lead the way. Taylor Ward was good, 3.8 WAR. Reed Detmers had a 2.3 WAR, but I mean it's a huge drop off after that, and I just don't see it. We'll revisit this, but like I said, 85 wins to me is just way too high. I just don't see it. And I think they're going to be fourth in division. They're definitely going to be better than the A's, who have shipped off basically the entire roster. They moved Sean Murphy, and Frankie Montas, and Sean Manaea, and Cole Irvin. So, I mean, they're really in the midst of a rebuild. Zips has them at 72 wins. They won 60 last year, so they can't be any worse than they were last year. So anything above 65, I think, is a win. They do have Tyler Soderstrom in the minor leagues right now, who's their top prospect. He can catch and play first base. He's a guy who's been on the list for a while. He's 21 years old, former first-round pick. Between high A, double A, and triple A last year, he played 134 games, had an 825 OPS, 29 home runs, 105 driven in. So he's definitely somebody that can be up to the big leagues this year, and maybe at the end of the year when they have decided to not tank, but kind of just throw it all in and say, we're gonna reload and come back next year. He's definitely somebody that they're gonna look to be their face of the franchise, because when you look at the roster right now, there's really nobody that you're looking at and going, yeah, I mean, this is a nice young player, but that was Matt Olson just a few years ago. He's in Atlanta, and then that was Sean Murphy. He's now also in Atlanta. So um, there's just some. Oakland's been they're in the same spot as the Rays, right? Not a big market, um, and they can't bring in high level guys. Um, they just aren't able to spend the money that they need. I mean, that's what the whole Moneyball is about. It's a great movie and surely so, but Tony Kemp, Ramon Laureano. I mean, this is the squad that you're going into with. I just I don't see it, man. There's just a lot. There's too many guys on the squad where you look at and go, well, that guy's 30 plus. Oh, there's another 30 plus guy. To me, it's just it's sad because I think they have some of the best uniforms in baseball. If I'm being honest, Oakland just doesn't have it going on right now. 60 wins last year was just horrible, but they ship off all their pieces, and it just wasn't great. Elvis Andrus also was on their team last year, and he's now in. I don't even know if he's been signed. He played for the White Sox towards the end of last year. They may have brought him back, but I can't confirm that. If you're an Oakland Athletics fan, I feel bad for you. They might be moving to Vegas. They might be not. They might be the worst team in baseball this year. They might not. We'll see. They might have some kid in the minor leagues right now who's not Tyler Soderstrom, who might come up and light the world on fire and bring them into, contention. But that'll be a lofty goal. That's been the AL West. To me, I love the way the Mariners are constructed, and I'll say it again. They could win the division. If I'm a betting man, I'm going to go ahead and say that the Astros are going to repeat. But, man, those Seattle Mariners, man, they are young. They're talented. They're hungry. They just made the playoffs last year for the first time in 20 years, so they have all of those momentum on their side. They're definitely going to win 85 games or more than 85 games in my estimation. I think that they're just going to just be dominant, and we might see a changing of the guard with the Mariners if George Kirby and Logan Gilbert can really develop, and Julio Rodriguez continues his great start to his career, and some of the other guys down the list that they're really counting on keep developing and pitching really well. This is going to be a team that is going to be really scary, and I'm excited. So, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know, who do you think will be leading the AL West. I feel like it'll be a competition really between the Astros and Mariners, obviously, but I'm excited to see what those two teams do. So let me know your thoughts. Once again, thank you so much for listening to AC Let's Do It podcast. I've been your host, Dominic Archer. Peace.